Let's go, everybody. Welcome to the People's Pre-Fight Show to get you ready for UFC Fight Night. Emmett versus Vallejos. We're going to hear a whole bunch of different pronunciations throughout the night. But we got fights coming up. Coming up in about 32 minutes, starting a little bit early today because why the hell not? You know, it's Saturday. It's beautiful out. Spring is almost sprung, and we got fisticuffs. UFC Vegas 114, Josh Emmett versus Kevin Vallejos. Not a bad card. I think it's going to be pretty fun overall. Not a ton of high stakes, if we're being honest, outside of probably the co-main event. Main event, obviously, for Vallejos. I'm going to get it right at some point. Be a big move for him if he goes out and gets a win. But I do think there's some good fights. I think we're going to get a bunch of finishes on here. There are absolutely some squash matches here. And that's what the fight nights are all about. That's what the UFC Apex is for, the world's most famous Apex. And I'm glad you are all here because let's mess around and answer some questions. Obviously, shout out to the Twitchsters. They are here as well. Fire in your questions. We could talk UFC Vegas 114. I'm sure we'll get a couple questions about that, but we could talk about everything else going on because there's a ton of stuff going on. So let's see. What do we got? Old World. Hello to you as well. Brody, Kevin in 1. That would be pretty damn impressive. I'll give my prediction at the end, but that would be pretty insane. Be huge if he does that. And on the contrary, N.101 says Emmett will win. This take will age well. He could. He hits very, very hard. He has a lot more experience than Kevin does. Kevin is very, very talented. He's only 24. I know he got submitted very quickly by Yusuf Salah, but Yusuf's been in there with friggin' everybody. He's been in there with Ilya Taporia. He's been in there with pretty damn good competition. I know Kevin just beat Giga Chikadze, but I feel like Giga's been on the downslope for quite some time. Since Calvin Kattar beat the brakes off of him. And I always thought Giga was a bit overrated. That's one of my takes that has aged very well. Never thought Giga Chikadze was like a top 15 featherweight. He had some decent wins. The UFC match made for him brilliantly, honestly, to try to get him up there, but then he ran into Calvin Kattar and just blasted him out. So we'll see how he does against Josh Emmett. I mean, you have to think Josh is probably fighting for his job here, but we'll see. Master, do you think if Josh loses, he'll retire? He doesn't sound like he wants to at all, but with another loss, who knows? I don't think he's going to retire. I don't think he's long for the UFC if he loses this fight, unless he's really competitive. Like, if they go out there and have a fight of the year contender, they're not going to let him go. But if he goes out and just gets run over tonight, I think his UFC days are numbered. But good news is there's lots of other options for him. He can go wrestle at RAF. He can go to Hype Fighting. That'd be a pretty damn good time. He can go to BKFC. I mean, there are options for him. Dirty Boxing. There are places for him to go with his fighting style. But I think if he loses in a non-competitive fashion, I think this will probably be his final UFC fight. Have you heard Feely's music? I have. It's been a while since I listened to it. Who's on comms tonight? I think it's Fitz, Cruz, and Bisping, which, golly, I hope Fitzgerald's getting some hazard pay tonight. That's a tough one. I don't think Cruz is as bad as most people make him out to be on commentary, but when he doesn't have, when he's not there with just Anik or with Felder, it can be rough because Cruz kind of has that A personality and Bisping just talks forever and just has to get his voice on the broadcast as much as possible. And sometimes he'll take a little cheap shot there. And if you do that with Cruz, he's going to fire right back. So this could be a rough one on commentary. But Fitzy's a pro. He'll do his best. I think Fitzgerald's fantastic. Curtis by decision. Action man indeed. I am really looking forward to that fight. I think that's the fight I'm looking forward to the most on this entire card, honestly. I do not know why that is on the prelims, but luckily for the Extreme Couture guys, Eric Nixick, he gets an early day in Vegas. He gets to go home early and hang out with his family. TJ's his coach. Has got to be ready. TJ was his coach for Yusuf Salal, and he got submitted in 90 seconds, so... are you giving Hardwick any chance now? He's fighting at his proper weight. Can his experience get him the win? No. I mean, look, it's a fight, and everybody, I guess, has a chance. But I don't think this goes very well for him. I think he's going to get finished in this fight. Hardwick's tough as hell, though. So that's what, like, kind of makes this... It'll be more fun, and it'll seem more competitive than it actually is. But look, this is... It's the Cage Warriors fade. I fade pretty much... I mean, there's a few, like, of the new era Cage Warriors. There's a few that have succeeded, but for the most part, I actually bet against a lot of them and have done pretty well financially with that. I don't think this is going to be a good night for Harry. I think he's going to show his grit and his toughness. He might have some moments. Doesn't have fight of the night potential, kind of, but not in like a rock'em sock'em robots. But holy shit, Harry Hardwick's really tough. Is really, really tough. I'm glad he's back to his weight class, but he's really good. He is a talent. So I don't think this goes well for Harry. I think it's actually great matchmaking if you're trying to get Rahiki over, but who knows? Maybe Harry pulls something off, but I think there's a reason why he's a pretty sizable underdog here. Ryder, thoughts on Colby's rant on UFC not giving him fights and calling them out regarding independent contractors? He's not wrong. He's not wrong. Colby says to this day, they did not offer him an actual opponent for the White House. He told me that not that long ago. He's told everybody else that. I know Bo is saying otherwise. I know Tiki Gozin, Bo's manager, came out, but I mean, obviously we know the relationship between Tiki and Dana White in the UFC, so it's not like he's going to come out there and take Colby's side publicly. Like, there's just no chance that's going to happen. So there's only a few people who truly know the answer to this question, and let's just be perfectly clear here, because I hate breaking news, but there are times where I have to dive in and try to answer questions and try to figure out what's going on here. There are many, many times where a fight is offered to one side of the table, but not officially offered to the other. And there's no real way to know otherwise. Like, if the UFC if they hit up Colby and he's like, nah, I don't want to do it, and then they like screenshotted his texts back to Tiki or something, like, that's pretty ridiculous. Like, that's pretty bad. So there's only a few people who truly know the answer to this question. Luckily, in about a week and a half's time, I'll see Colby, and we'll iron this all out. Got some fun stuff planned with Colby in the next week and a half or so. So stay tuned for that. We shall get the answers to all of these questions in a different kind of fashion. Masters, we've seen quite a transition lately with the young guys getting opportunities. Not all have come through. I wonder what the ratio is of new talents breaking through or being stopped past year. I don't really know. It's tough. I think they're coming through more often than not because, I mean, a lot of these divisions, it's just the old guard is just trying to get out here. And when the UFC sees somebody, especially these contender series guys they're trying to push, they matchmake them in like the best possible way. Now, there are exceptions to that rule. Sometimes they try to, I don't know if they try to teach guys lessons or try to humble them. I kind of feel like they're doing that with Josh Hokett right now, throwing him in there with Curtis Blades. I don't think that's going to go very well for him, but you never know. Like, Josh is, of all the up-and-coming heavyweights, Josh is one of the better ones. But man, chucking him in there with Curtis Blades after beating two of the worst heavyweights, that is a step up. Dave, gifting 10 memberships. What a hero. Dave does this all the time. Fahey, UFC 328 headliner. Grudge, second place after 229. I don't know what that means. Sorry about that. I don't know what to, I don't know. What the hell is this? That's pretty funny. I'm actually going to take a picture of this so I can send it to my wife. She's going to think this is very funny. That's very funny. Probably not, is the answer to that question. You and Jed are Bisbing and crazy. Cruz, who's better? Me and Jed. All day. All day. I think Delgado make a statement to get Giga next. It's possible. And Ned Kashu getting in there, hanging out with with ICAC. This is unbelievable. 14 fights from the Apex is rough. 14 fights on any card is rough. It's too many. 10 to 12. 12 at the most. There should never be more than 12 fights on a card. 10 is boom. Right down the middle. Joe, I gained a lot of respect for Fitzpatrick last year when he hosted the early desk, did production, and was on the main card broadcast. Fitzgerald, you mean? It's okay. Yeah, Fitz is the man. He's the man. I actually talked to him. When did I talk to him? On Thursday? Was it Thursday? Yeah, it was Thursday. When we found out we were getting the Dana announcements, I actually talked to him. He didn't break any news to me, but I did reach out. I said hello. I did ask him. I was like, are we just getting locations of these events, or are we actually getting a bunch of fights announced? And he was like, get ready for a bunch of fight announcements. And again, he didn't give me anything, but Fitz is the man. Anytime I get to run into that guy, it's a good time. Fellow New Englander from Cape Cod. Rob, over under 1.5 years before MVP officially launches an MMA promotion with belts. I'll say over. See, here's the thing. One thing the UFC has done over the years is they have made belts worthless. Not totally, but they have lost so much meaning over the years, especially with the matchmaking that they've done, that it's hard to take it seriously. And the UFC just has this thing where it's like, oh, we have to put a belt on every card. We have to do this. We have to do that. Let's create belts. MVP can just do this without belts. Just put big fights on. Just put big names on a card, and the belts don't matter. It doesn't. You could still do 5-round fights. You could still make them meaningful and big without belts. So I think a lot is going to depend on what happens on May 16th. I think that card's going to be massive. I know there's people who hit me up every day and think I'm crazy for saying that, but I think it's going to be the most watched MMA event of all time. It's going to be the most watched. It's going to crush the White House. It's going to clobber it. White House is still going to do very well, but not everybody has CBS. Not everyone has Paramount Plus. Friggin' everybody has Netflix. So that is going to be well watched. But I don't think they need belts. I hope they don't do belts. Does Asplin get mauled badly and kill the vibes? I actually think he's going to win tonight. Drummerdale, any update / truth on the John Silva replacement rumors from Movzar next weekend? I'll be surprised. He's got to cut 40 pounds. Did you see him grapple Bryce Mitchell? That dude ain't anywhere near 145. Nowhere near it. I'd be stunned. I think he'd be insane. I think John Silva is very smart tweeting out and getting people talking. But look, they could What if he's fighting for the belt? What if they're giving him Volk? That could be an option. Wouldn't surprise me to the slightest. Even though they have two essential number one contender fights, they don't like Aljamain Sterling. They don't like Movsar Evloev. And maybe they just want to get Volk in there. Who else is available? It's John. They'll do it with John Silva. So I don't know. I'd be stunned. I've heard nothing in terms of like concrete things in regards to Movsar Evloev. I've not heard anything that he is out or that he's having visa issues. I've not been told any of this. And you would have to think, with this event happening next week, if there's any truth to these rumors, they're going to announce it tonight. So perhaps we'll come on the post-fight show and I'll be like, all right, John Silva's a gangster. He's going to try to cut 40 pounds in a week to fight Lerone Murphy. But I'd be very surprised. I'd be very surprised. My favorite stat of the day per Jedi Goodman. Brad Tavares will be competing in his 28th UFC bout at UFC Vegas 114. Does not have any post-fight bonuses. I mean, that's not Jedi's stat, just to be clear. But yeah, that is pretty wild that he does not have a bonus at all. Mick Tebek's been killing it lately. Didn't know how he'd do after the Rebechki beating. Well, he's back at welterweight and doesn't have to cut to 55 anymore. So he is super talented. He's real good. He's going to beat Chris Curtis. But you know, Chris is just one of those dudes that you can never count out. Wait, what? Oh, okay. Michael. Hey, Mike, thanks for all you do. Will Jillian get the next title shot after submitting Lemos in dominant fashion tonight? Dern Zhang is awesome, but Jillian's a more favorable matchup for Dern. They're getting Zhang's definitely getting the fight. Unless she is hurt and can't go, Zhang Weili versus Mackenzie Dern is a big fight. That's a big one. So I'd be stunned if that's not the one. Unless Zhang is just staying at 125, she's just going to do the Rose Namajunas thing and just say, I don't want to cut the weight anymore. Valentina is not long for this world. I'll get my shot to be a 2-division champion again. But I think she's, after seeing what Valentina did to her, she could take, and I was dead wrong about that. I thought Zhang had a real good chance in that fight. I thought she was going to dominate that fight, but Valentina hossed her around. And I don't think she's long for 125. I think she's going to go back and fight for the belt. Now, Jillian could get next. I think Jillian's going to have to fight again, honestly. But back to Fahib. Sorry. UFC 328 headliner. Grudge second place. Okay. This is the second biggest grudge outside of Conor and Khabib. No. God, no. Not even close. I mean, it's John Jones and Daniel Cormier. It is right there. And there have been there have been many others. Is Gable going to be your keeper? Probably. He'll be one of them. William, got the Red Sox picture there. Respect. You think Francis Jones headlining an MVP card will trigger UFC fighters demanding more money / UFC finally paying their fighters? Probably. God, no. Are you kidding me? No chance. No chance. And by the way, that fight's never happening. There's no way. There's just no way the UFC is going to let John do that. They should. If they're not going to let him fight, like, let him go. But he's got he's got a shitload of fights left on his contract. So they're going to do everything they can to make sure he doesn't fight Francis, which is ridiculous. But like, if you're not going to put him on a card to fight, like, just let him go. But they're not going to do that. And even if they do put that fight on, like, it's not going to stop the UFC. They're making $7.7 billion. Does not put a dent in them whatsoever. Genuine question. Do you ever get burned out doing this and covering MMA? People talk about Dana's passion, but it can be hard at times, I'm sure. I don't know if like burned out is the right phrasing. I mean, there are times where it's just like, man, like luckily this year, like, has been better for me because like if every week is exactly the same and it's just like, all right, I'm on this day and I have to write these articles and then do a couple of interviews and then edit them up and get them up. And I know Thursday I'm doing BTL right in this room. And then Friday I'm doing a preview show right in this room. And then Saturday I'm doing a Q&A right in this room. Post show right in this room. On to the next one right in this room. If I am in this room or whatever command center I'm at, every day, every week for months on end, it starts to get monotonous and I start to like get bored by it. But luckily, like, the news cycle never stops. Luckily this year, I've been on the road a little bit more. I covered the last 2 RAF cards. I'll be out on the road in Tampa for the next one. So luckily, like, RAF has become a thing and has let me do more. Do more. I get to leave and mix things up a little bit. So that's a lot of my goal for 2026. I'm trying to do stuff where I can mix things up and not just do the same stuff over and over again. So I mean, obviously there are stretches where it's just like, it gets a little crazy. Like, you see your buddies out on Saturday nights and, you know, you're here working and watching a crappy UFC card. Like, there are times like that where it gets a little crazy, but for the most part, like, I love my job. I love what I do. It's great that I get to be home and hang out with my family, but in regards to just like career and doing like all these different things, being able to mix things up and, you know, travel and get some one-on-one interviews and just do some more different stuff, I'm all in for that. I love that. Like, honestly, watching Helwani like host that press conference on Tuesday, I was like, man, like, that would be so fun. I would love to do that. Not like, it doesn't have to be like for an MVP event, but like any kind of event. Like, I'm better at that stuff than I am at any other thing that I do here. Like, you put me on a stage with a live microphone and an audience, like, that's where I shine. That's where I do my best work. Rob, what fight will most likely get fight of the night? Boy, this is a tough one. There's a few options. I'll say I'll say Charles Johnson, Bruno Silva. That's all I'll go with. Like the see-through doors behind you. Looks nice. Yes, I like these doors. It's very good. Lets people roam around the house while I'm doing shows. Thoughts on Pat's free agency moves? So far, so good. They're trying stuff. I can better assess the Patriots after the draft. So, like 4 or 5 weeks, a little less, we'll be good to go. Thoughts on Charles Johnson having a pretty quick turnaround after being KO'd? I mean, if he's cleared and can fight, why not? It's a good opportunity for him. He's getting over because he fights a lot. and people are starting to notice. That's how you become more popular in this sport. There are very few stars in the UFC. Like Ilya has made himself a star. Alex Pereira has made himself a star. But like neither of them are nowhere to like the degree of Conor and Ronda and some of those other fighters that came before him, but he's very popular. Ilya also does not need to fight because he's popular in other ways, not fighting. Like he's a massive star in Spain, massive star in Georgia. And if he never fought again, he would still be that way. But becoming more popular in the sport is you fight and you fight all the time. That's what put Kevin Holland over. That's how Khamzat Chimaev initially got over. That's how Sean Strickland got over. That's how Waldo Cortez Acosta got over. You get out there and you fight as often as possible. People get to know you. People want to see you. Hike. Me and Dr. Ned Cashew II have been debating recently, and we would love to hear your point of view. Do you think Strickland has any chance against Khamzat? Yes, I'll read the Twitch chat, but you got to throw them in. Throw questions in. We're answering questions here. Do I think he has a chance? Yeah, I think he has a chance. I think Strickland or Fluffy have the best chance of beating Khamzat. I don't think he's going to, but he has a chance. Like when you hear Dricus du Plessis and other people say like, yeah, Sean's got a shot. I agree. He's got a shot. I have, and I know Daniel Cormier has talked about this as well. I've been hearing a whole bunch of crazy stuff when it comes to Khamzat. Like he is just wrecking people. So that's training and that's the gym. There's also a bunch of clips where like Khamzat is like sparring with Khalil Roundtree and he is just wobbling him over and over again. So Sean has a chance. I don't think we're going to get the Khamzat that fought Dricus du Plessis. Khamzat can hit, man. That dude is a hitter. He just doesn't need to do it. But when he goes out there and cracks, like ask Gerald Mearshart how hard that dude hits. Will Josh Emmett get to fight up in his next fight if he gets a win tomorrow? Like a lightweight? Yeah, if he wants to leave the division, sure. Mike, can you explain why Beneil is double booked to fight twice in the next couple months, once against Torres, another against Salkild? Well, he's not fighting Torres anymore. Torres is injured. So he's only fighting once, and he's just fighting Killen. That's why he's fighting Killen, because he lost Torres. Since Topuria is fighting at the White House, is Gary next for Islam? Boy, that's tough. I'll say if it's not Ilya, I think it will be Gary. I'll leave it at that. But I mean, this is just no insight. I just think that if Ilya goes out there and just wrecks Justin Gaethje, and I think he's going to, he's done at 55. He's going to fight Islam Makhachev. So, and the UFC is going to make that fight. Fahi again. Will we see a 328 presser before the fight week presser? No. I mean, they should do that, but they won't. Dan Trent, John signed a contract for X amount of dollars, but now everyone is acting like the UFC is refusing to give him a fight just because they won't give him a massive raise. They offered John Jones $30 million to fight Tom Aspinall. They offered him that money. Like that's not a secret. That's not inside baseball anymore. That is true and real. I can assure you, just based on the conversations I've had, if the UFC offered John Jones $30 million to fight Alex Pereira at the White House, John Jones would be fighting Alex Pereira at the White House. I bet Mike is a great DJ. Big Mike's got skills. I've been known to crush a wedding or two in my day. Why no Sanko? Why are being punished with Bisping? I don't know what Sanko's up to. I think she's on vacation. Do you keep an eye on the players at Sawgrass? I saw, what's his face? I watched, what's his name? Aberg shoot a 29 on the front nine yesterday. I'm going to have like 3 screens going, and players is going to be one of them once I get off here. Him or Usman? No, it's not. It's not going to be Usman. It's not going to be Usman. Strickland versus Costa was pathetic, a performance / fight. Strickland's fault. He started marching. The ants go marching 2-2. That wasn't a great fight. I will never forget that fight because I was doing great in regards to like point spread bets for the watch parties that I was doing. Cause this is when the watch party was in the studio in New York and I was doing them with GC. And I was just hammering point spread bets and I was winning all of them. And I put a huge point spread bet on Sean Strickland in that fight against Paulo Costa. I think it was -5.5. And then someone scored that fight for Paulo Costa and completely hosed me. It was insane. I was friggin' pissed. What kind of sneaker guy is Mike? I bet he wears Hokas. I don't wear Hokas. I it kind of just depends on what I'm doing. I've never really been like a sneaker guy. Right now I have like a pair of like just crappy shoes I do yard work in. I have like a pair of like not quite Air Force Ones, but like just solid white Nikes. My man Action Bronson just hooked me up with like a bunch of sick sneakers. So I have like go out shoes. I got like the old Baklava running shoes, which I think are the best running shoes in the world. And then he sent me a couple of other pairs that are just the shit, man. So yeah, I rep the Baklavas as much as possible, but I have like other stuff as well. I'm not a big sneaker guy. I do like sneakers. And then, you know, in my trunk, I have like a pair of weightlifting shoes, or not really weightlifting shoes, but they're like cross trainers, but more so for weightlifting. Those are TYRs or tiers. I like those. My listening library, YouTube. Why are people upset with how Francis moved? He is treating the companies how they treat the fighters. Fighters are underpaid and caged in. I still don't. Yeah, I don't know why Francis gets ripped on for that. I don't understand. Although PFL probably could have handled that a lot differently. Like everyone blames Francis for this. Like he signed with PFL and then he's like, "Hey, can I go box Tyson Fury?" And they're like, "Yeah, you can go box Tyson Fury." And everyone thought this is like great PR for the PFL. And I was like, no, it's terrible because they're just going to keep mentioning he's the former UFC heavyweight champion. And that's pretty much all they said. Date idea for today. Not watching tonight. Need to make it count. I don't know where you're located, so it's tough for me to say. I'm in South Carolina. I would suggest doing something outside. Find a rooftop bar, go to the beach, do something. Be outside if you're in a place where the weather's awesome. Outdoor patio somewhere, that kind of stuff. Be outside and just stay outside. All right, take a couple more, and then we'll get out of here. When is Action coming back? Whenever he wants, man. He's got an open door. He is very, very busy. Why do you think the UFC rebooked Jan versus Guzkov for 328, even though they fought to a draw in December? because you got to figure it out. You got nothing else to do with those guys, so just have them fight again. That was like one of the funniest fights of the year. So I'm super down for that one. All right. I think we're good. I'll give you my picks before we get out of here. We'll jump to the main card and I'll let you know what I'm doing. I got no bets on this card. I got nothing here. All right, let me pull up my picks real quick, and then we'll give you the betting lines and where we're at. That is me right there. All right, we will begin in the heavyweight division. We got Vitor Petrino, the -210 favorite, to come back on Steven Asplund, plus 176. I'm going with Steven Asplund. Wait, that's a prelim fight. It's a main card fight. I'm going to Asplund to get the win. He knocks him out in the first round. Kind of a surprising one. Then we go to Marwan Rahiki taking on Harry Hardwick. Rahiki, big favorite, -260. To come back on Hardwick, plus 215. Rahiki gets him out of there in round two. Hardwick hangs in there in the first round. He just takes too much punishment and then gets finished in the second. We got Andre Fili, massive underdog, at plus 380, all according to FanDuel. Come back on, or the favorite, Jose Delgado, huge favorite, -490. Fili, like, when I first looked at this matchup, I was like, man, like, surprised the betting line's so high. And then I went and looked, and I was like, oh, Fili won his last fight, so he's definitely getting finished. So Delgado KO round one is where I'm going. Light heavyweight division, Umar Sy, big favorite, -320. Come back on Iwan Kuchalaba, plus 250. Shout out to D1 Iwan. I'm picking Iwan for the upset tonight. Decision in a fight we'll never watch again. He tackles Umar a bunch of times, gets it done. Plus 250. Dog ticket. Let's go. Co-main event, big one at 115 pounds. We got Jillian Robertson, -240 favorite. The comeback on Amanda Lemos, plus 194. I feel like people are not giving Amanda Lemos any chance in this fight. I feel like people believe that she's done. She's not good, all of that. And some of that is true. However, she's very difficult to finish. I see a lot of people saying that Jillian's just going to go in there and submit her in the first round. I'd be very surprised by that. That'd be sick if she did that. But I think Jillian wins a pretty dominant decision. Amanda, it's hard to look good against Amanda, but I think Jillian gets her to the ground, gets a lot of control time, and then does more stuff than Tatiana Suarez sure as hell tried to do. So, yeah, give me Jillian Robertson by decision. And then the main event, Kevin Vallejos, big favorite, -550 to come back on Josh Emmett, plus 410. I think things could get real interesting early on in this fight, but Kevin is just so talented. Very, very good striker. Incredible movement. He's friggin' dynamite out there. I think Emmett is tough as hell. I think he survives. I think he makes it the full 25 minutes. I think he has his moments. I don't think this looks quite like the Ilya Taporia Josh Emmett fight, but maybe a couple steps below that. I don't think we're getting any 50-42s on the scorecards, but I think a convincing decision win for Kevin. Dominant, 50-45, maybe a 50-44 somewhere. But, yeah, I think this is I might say a breakout moment for Kevin, but definitely one of those performances where, yeah, he might not get a finish, but it's like, damn, dude's real good. We got to keep our eye on him. So, all right, we're done. Stick with us, MMAfighting.com. We got your results, highlights, all that stuff all night long at the website. I'm watching BKFC as well. I know former WWE Tag Team Champion Gazim Salmani is competing, making his BKFC debut. We'll let you know what happens in that fight over on the website. And then we'll be back after the UFC event. Jed will join me. So we'll have the two YouTube, Hike Hex and Ned Jashoes, bickering back and forth in support of their favorites. And that should be a lot of fun. But until then, everybody, enjoy the fights. Let's have a good time. Let's stay positive. Spring is springing. Fights are happening. And Kevin Vallejos has got a main event. So thank you all very much. You're the best. I agree with you, Duran. Best damn community in the MMA and combat sports world. Until we see you later on tonight. Bye-bye, everybody.